It's time to answer your COVID-19 questions. As we approach 4 months of the pandemic, the questions you're asking are evolving, so let's get right to it. With me tonight, infectious diseases specialist, Dr. Susie Hoda. Good evening, Dr. Hoda.
Good evening.
So first question here has to do with masks and breathing. My friend says oxygen is important to keep up your immune system, and masks reduce your oxygen levels, which makes them detrimental. Is that true?
Well, oxygen is important to support all your bodily functions. It's actually how your cells make energy. But that said, I haven't seen any medical or scientific evidence that shows that wearing a mask depletes your body of oxygen or lets any harmful gases like carbon dioxide build up. Now, you might feel uncomfortable if you're wearing a mask for a while. You might get hot or even become more aware of your breathing. But it's not dangerous, and I certainly can attest to it as a healthcare worker, having worn a mask for a long period of time over the course of a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go on to our next question. Right now, it's too hot to exercise outdoors, especially for seniors. So are air-conditioned malls a safe option if I maintain social distancing and wear a mask?
I would say yes. I mean, I think it's great that people are thinking about maintaining their physical activity and their health through the pandemic. And I would encourage you to take walks within air-conditioned buildings like malls. It's safer than doing exercise outdoors when it's really hot. And as long as you're able to distance from people and it's not a crowded building, it would be a safe environment. The only other thing I would say is just be aware of how old the building is, because the ventilation system may not be as good in an older building or as well maintained. And you want to have good air circulation through that building.
Okay, here's a question that I was actually thinking about just today in the grocery store. Here's a viewer asking, are face shields an acceptable alternative to masks indoors? Are they only helpful as an additional precaution?
So face shields are presented by the WHO as an alternative to face masks for this purpose. But the problem is they're just not that well studied yet. Now, that research is very active right now, so there are studies underway. And the added benefit of wearing a face shield is that you can actually cover your eyes as well. And you can get COVID-19 if infectious droplets land on your eyes. So that's one of the positives. One of the negatives of face shields, however, is that they don't fit your face like a mask does. So, you could be potentially exposed from below, or if it shifts, your mouth might get exposed.
Just a few seconds left for one more question. If I put my disposable gloves and paper mask in separate paper bags after I've grocery shopped, can I reuse them? And if so, how long do I need to wait?
So I'm not a big fan of wearing gloves in public. I think that what it does is people get a false sense of security. I'd rather you invest in having hand sanitizer and using that frequently when you're touching surfaces. But if you're going to wear gloves, you should dispose of them right after you use them. With masks, if you're well trained in them, you can reuse the disposable masks, even though they are meant to be single use, as long as they're not wet or they don't get dirty and they're still in good shape. But you have to really know what you're doing to do that carefully and safely.
Dr. Susie Hoda, appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.